Every night at precisely 12 o'clock, Farmer John would peer out of his bedroom window and see his sheep, all 200 of them, forming a perfectly circular procession. They would walk in a synchronized pattern, as if they were following some invisible conductor. This nocturnal ritual left John puzzled, and he couldn't figure out why his sheep were behaving this way. One night, unable to bear the mystery any longer, John decided to venture out into the fields to investigate. He quickly put on his jacket and some boots, and he slid out of the room, making sure not to wake his wife, Sandra. Grabbing a flashlight and his phone, he stepped out into the chilly night, determined to find answers. This was not normal, and he could not ignore it. What was going on with his sheep? He quietly approached the flock, not wanting to disturb them from this trance. Until now, he had only watched them from his window, but this was the first time he was coming so close to the herd while they were engaged in their odd behavior. He was cautious, not knowing if or how they would react to his presence. But before we start, smash the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our upcoming stories. As John got closer, the eerie sight was even more disturbing. The sheep moved with an unnerving precision, their steps in perfect unison. It was mesmerizing, almost hypnotic, to watch them circle in the moonlight. John felt a chill run down his spine. He had grown up on this farm and spent his whole life tending to livestock, but he had never seen anything like this. He stood there for a while, gathering the courage to make himself known and try to get their attention. He shouted, clapped, and even whistled, but the sheep did not seem to notice him at all. They just continued walking in circles as if he were invisible to them. It was reassuring to see that the sheep still looked perfectly healthy. They showed no signs of pain or discomfort, but they were in a complete trance. Even when John shone his flashlight directly into their eyes, there was no reaction. It was the weirdest thing he had ever seen, and he had so many questions. After some time, John decided to go back to bed. It was cold outside, and he had another day of hard work ahead of him. He should get some sleep, but he knew he couldn't just let this go. Before heading back, he took a few pictures and videos of the herd, thinking they might be useful in his quest for answers. He was not going to give up so easily. When he woke up the next morning, John jumped out of bed and immediately looked through the window. It was as if last night hadn't even happened. The sheep were acting normally, walking around and grazing peacefully. There were no signs of anything unusual. If it wasn't for the photos and videos he had taken, he'd have no way to prove what had happened. But luckily he did. He had witnessed this odd phenomenon a few nights in a row now, but he had not yet mentioned anything to his wife. He hadn't wanted to wake her from her sleep, but now he decided to show her the footage. Perhaps she would know what was going on. "Sandra, there's something you need to see," he said, calling her over to the kitchen table. Over their morning coffee, John showed her the pictures and videos. Sandra gasped when she saw the footage. "What is this?" What are they doing?" she asked, completely shocked. She was visibly upset, and John could tell that she had never seen anything like this before either. "Well, that's what I'm trying to find out," he replied. Sandra insisted on coming outside with them that night. She wanted to see this with her own eyes. So they worked hard the entire day, focusing on their usual tasks, and when they finally went to bed, they set the alarm for midnight. They did not want to miss it. John had decided that the next day he would ask some friends for help. Maybe one of the other farmers in the area had noticed the same thing. He also decided to post the video he had taken online. Perhaps someone on the internet would be able to tell him more about the situation. Morning found John sitting at his computer, rewatching the video he'd taken the previous night. It was both mesmerizing and chilling, and each time he played it back, he felt a growing knot of concern. He selected a farming forum from his bookmarks, typed a short description, and uploaded the video. "Maybe someone out there has seen this before," he whispered, his fingers crossed. Within hours, his post was flooded with responses. Some were filled with laughter emojis, insinuating he'd edited the video for a joke. Others were more sincere, expressing concern or curiosity. "Is this some sort of late April Fool's prank?" Read one comment, but another said, "This is haunting. Never seen anything like it. Are the sheep okay?" Amidst the sea of skepticism, a few voices resonated with genuine concern. Farmer Bill from 2 towns over commented, "Saw something similar last spring, but only for a night." Another, Farmer Elsie, wrote, "My grandmother spoke of our sheep doing this years ago, but I never believed her until now." It was clear John wasn't entirely alone in this mystery. Debates broke out within the forum. Some called for John to post more evidence, convinced it was a digital prank. Others jumped to his defense, stating they'd seen odd behaviors, though not as pronounced. The line between concern and skepticism grew, turning the forum into a lively battleground of opinions and personal anecdotes. Intrigued by the confessions of a few farmers, John began to reach out personally. Through direct messages, he tried to find similarities. Were there specific times these occurrences took place? Were there any specific patterns? Were certain breeds affected more? Although his search was initially messy, he hoped to find some thread that connected these bizarre events. As evening approached, Sandra gathered her notes. The legend's tales, though incomplete, felt eerily familiar. There was a pressing need to decipher the remaining parts of the story. Armed with newfound knowledge and a million questions, she decided to share her discoveries with John. She hoped that together they might unravel this ancient puzzle. It wasn't long before John's video found its way to Dr. Clara Hughes, a renowned veterinarian with a passion for neurology. Intrigued by the sheep's behavior, she sent John a message. "I've come across strange behaviors in animals, but this is a new one. Would you mind if I took a closer look?" With hope in his heart, John agreed. Meeting over a cup of coffee, Dr. Clara discussed her initial thoughts. There could be a neurological trigger causing this synchronized movement, she mused. Perhaps they've ingested something affecting their nervous system, or maybe there's some external factor we haven't considered. John listened intently, hoping her expertise would shed light on the mystery. The next day, Dr. Clara arrived at John's farm, equipped with her tools and equipment. She was meticulous, examining the sheep one by one, drawing blood samples, and making detailed observations. The flock seemed wary of the newcomer, but allowed her gentle touch. John and Sandra watched closely, waiting for any new insights. After hours of examination, Dr. Clara presented her initial findings. There's no immediate evidence of any toxin or neurological ailment. Their vitals are stable and blood work is normal. While somewhat relieving, this only deepened the mystery. But Dr. Clara was persistent. "We're just scratching the surface," she assured them. Clara began considering other potential causes. She questioned John about their diet, any new plants or fungi the sheep might have consumed. She studied the local flora, pondering the slim chance of some herb or mushroom causing these effects. The search for a biological cause became an intensive quest. Through their research, they discovered that the well wasn't just a source of water but had historical significance. It was a remnant of an ancient ceremonial ground. Legends spoke of rituals performed under specific lunar cycles, aligning eerily with the tales Sandra found. The past and present seemed intertwined, drawing John and Sandra deeper into the puzzle. As they delved deeper into the symbols around the well, a pattern emerged. Many of the carvings closely mirrored lunar cycles, crescents, full moons, and obscure symbols that seemed to track lunar eclipses. Sandra remembered the legend she'd uncovered at the library, and it felt like pieces of a puzzle coming together. Comparing her library notes with the deciphered symbols, Sandra recognized similar mentions of sheep and lunar events. She shared her findings with John. "There's too much overlap for this to be mere coincidence," she whispered, excitement evident in her voice. The legend and the well's history seemed intertwined. Curious neighbors, having heard whispers, began offering their insights. Local historians provided their interpretations of the symbols, revealing layers of history. A collective effort was underway as the entire town sought to unravel the mystery of the well and the enigmatic behavior of the sheep. With the town abuzz, elderly residents reminisced about days gone by. "I remember my grandfather talking about the sheep acting strangely," said one. Tales long considered folklore now bore weight. There seemed to be a cyclical pattern occurring every few decades that tied the sheep's behavior to specific lunar phases. Upon deeper inspection, and with the help of local astronomers, a startling revelation was made. Every time the flock's strange behavior occurred, the moon was at its fullest, and the well's shadow pointed precisely to the east. It was as if the sheep were acting out an ancient ritual, one passed down through generations but never understood. As weeks went by, Dr. Clara's research continued, but there were no definitive answers. While the sheep's behavior seemed harmless, the driving force behind it was a persistent enigma. The town, intrigued but weary, began to adjust to the mystery, accepting it as part of their lives. But Sandra and John weren't ready to give up. They invited Clara and a few local historians to witness one more night, one more round of the sheep's strange procession, hoping for a breakthrough. Armed with cameras, recording equipment, and even drones, they aimed to capture every detail. And then, as if the universe decided to reward their persistence, they witnessed something extraordinary. As midnight struck, the sheep began their circular dance once more, but this time a soft hum resonated from the earth, barely audible yet distinctly present. The air shimmered, and the moon seemed to glow brighter. In that fleeting moment, Sandra realized the sheep weren't merely circling. They were tracing a specific symbol, one that matched the carvings at the well. It was a message, an echo of the past, brought forth under the moonlight. The town may never fully understand why the sheep behaved this way, but what John, Sandra, and the community realized was that they were living amid history, in the echoes of a past far older than their town, guided by forces unknown. And though the answers weren't fully clear, there was a strange comfort in knowing they were part of something bigger, something timeless. The sheep's midnight circles remained a mystery, but no longer one of fear. Instead, it became a tale the town would pass down, a legend renewed, reminding them of the unseen forces that once, and perhaps always, guided their world.